Hello, chosen ones. Welcome again to another live video. This one's speaking about how everyone will let you down at some point in your life. And this is to quote something that was said to me many years ago by my sensei, who was a 6th Dan black belt in karate at the time. And he said something to me that kind of stuck with me at that time. It's kind of funny because at the time I thought it was a load of BS. I didn't really believe in it. But back then, 13 years ago, when I was learning karate, I remember he said something to us in the class. He said, everyone in your life at some point will let you down. And I had a thought about it. At the time I was thinking, what is this guy even on? What is he even talking about? Everyone will let me down at some point in my life. I was thinking about my father. I was thinking about my family, my sisters, and my friends at the time. All the other girls that I was involved with. Because of course back then, you know what I was like. But yeah, I was thinking, what is this guy on? What is he talking about? What is he trying to say? Everyone in life will let me down at some point. Of course, back then I didn't understand because I was still young. I was only 22, 23. And now, as I aged and I got older, I think back to that quote and now it makes perfect sense. Because this is the reality of it. Many of you may have people in your life right now, and they may seem so special, so important to you. Close family members, your closest friends, a relationship partner, a boss, a co-worker, whoever it is. And you may think that they will be there for you through thick and thin, but just give it time. A few months, maybe a few years, at some point you will see that everyone in life is going to let you down. They're going to fail you. They're going to disappoint you. And this doesn't always mean that they're narcissists and they're horrible people. A lot of times, yeah, that can be the case. But sometimes it's just that people have other priorities. They've got other things going on in their life. I mean, it could be that you have a close friend and you thought they'd always be there for you. But then it could be that maybe now they have a family of their own and that's their priority. So then they can't consider you in the way that they used to. Sometimes that's just how it goes. So I think back to this quote, what my sensei, who was a 6th Dan black belt in karate at the time, what he said back then 13 years ago. I still remember it to this day because it really stuck with me. Sorry about the loud music in the background. It does come on sometimes because they know that it can affect the monetization. But just let it pass and I'll get back to the message. It's going to stay with me here now. I'll walk further down here so I can try and stay away from the sound. Yeah, the gang stalking and smear campaigns are very persistent, as you may have noticed in my videos. At this point, I actually haven't even eaten anything for like the past 27 hours. Haven't even got any water. But as a man, as an alpha male beating on my chest. Purpose comes before all of that. Back in the old days, with the tribes, it's like you could just forget about food, forget about water, everything, eating. We could go with hunger, we could starve, and yet just continue on our purpose. So that's what I will strive to do. Even if I have no food in my belly, it doesn't matter. Got more gangster stalkers here as well, staring me down. It's very creepy. But I think that's why they play the music down there, to get me to move into this position where they can then suck my energy out of me. I'm gonna move further down here. I think there's still some shade. Just don't want to go into the sun because it's very hot. And since I haven't got any water, I will dehydrate very quickly, which is probably a part of their plan. Because they kind of want you to die out on your own. And of course, in this kind of heat, it's like 35 degrees right now, without adequate hydration. Of course, yeah, there is the risk that I could die. But anyway, I'm going to continue with this message now that I'm kind of on my own here. I mean, obviously there's always going to be gang stalkers around following me wherever I go. But yeah, everyone will let you down at some point in life. And a lot of times these will be narcissistic people. And that's just how it goes. And yet the crazy thing is, if it was the other way around, if they were in that position and they needed your help, your support, it would be a very different story. And they would be looking at you like you're crazy, you're evil, you're this horrible person who's let them down, you failed them, you disappointed them, you're not good enough, you're bad. And they would probably go and smear your name, tell everyone about it. Of course, when it's happening to you, when they're the ones who are letting you down, then they don't even care about it. Then it doesn't even cross their minds. They don't even consider you. Because the reality is that these narcissists who gain access to your life, they never cared about you anyway. It was never about taking an interest in you or connecting to you, having a friendship, relationship, or whatever it was. It was never about that. It was all about just, they saw the perks, the benefits, the conveniences that they could gain from getting involved with you. And it was all just about positioning themselves so that they could get that from you without ever having to reciprocate anything back. And that's all that it was. And in the beginning, for a certain amount of time, they can make you feel like they're there for you, they're in your corner, and they'll give you the lies and future faking, like you may be putting out. You may be giving them a place to stay. You may be paying for their food, take them out places, doing all of these things. Because you assume loyalty. A lot of times we idealize people and it's like, you know, in yourself, you'd be there for them. You'd always have their back no matter what. That's the type of person that you are. As a chosen one, as an empath, you would never let them down. You would never fail them. You would never disappoint them. And then you kind of assume that that's what they're like. That that's how their brains are wired. But actually, all along they were playing a role. They're actually nothing like that at all. They're very different to what they portray themselves to be. And you may not notice that in the beginning. So you're giving out all of this value. You're doing everything you can for them. And you're assuming this loyalty as though they're loyal to you like you're loyal to them. You'd never think that they would go and betray you. But just give it time and you will see that they will. Many of them will. When the time comes when you need them. And that's really what a lot of us need. It's really what a lot of us need, is for these types of situations to happen. Like, remember how it was with them when they were in need. They needed a place to stay with you. They needed your money, your attention, your kindness, your generosity. And when that happened, you stepped up, you were there for them. You displayed loyalty. You displayed so many positive qualities, your kindness and generosity, your empathy. You gave it all to them. And that's really what a lot of us need, because that's how you know who's really down for you, who's really loyal. A lot of us, we do need to go down sometimes, in some ways in life. It is a strength of character, of course. I mean, you learn nothing from being in your comfort zone. I know that myself. I mean, as many of you may know, I am from an affluent family. And most of my life I was in a comfort zone. I had everything provided for me. I never really had to work or do anything. And in that space, I learned nothing. We don't learn anything in our comfort zone. It's only when you go out into the wilderness and you're left to fend for yourself, that's when you learn everything. We learn through our struggles, our hardships, and especially our failures. You'll learn far more from failure than you'll ever learn from success. And that is the truth. Which is why it does help when we experience these things in life, when we're on our own, no one's there for us. Because on one hand, it's like it's going to show you who's really there for you, who's really by your side. Because if you're going through something, if you're struggling, that's when you're going to see who's really there for you. That's when you're really going to see who's got you. And in the worst case scenario, let's say everyone you were dealing with was fake. No one was really there for you. No one was really by your side. Even in those situations, there's still something you can gain from that. You can gain that experience, because then you're in a difficult situation on your own. You're out of your comfort zone. And that's when you're going to grow. That's when it's really going to test your strength, your character, your ability. That's when you're going to become stronger. And I've been through that myself, as many of you may know. I've traveled many countries over the past few years. And I've had to struggle myself. I've also seen hardship in other people's lives. And as you may know, I have given a lot of money, a lot of food to people all around the world. I did everything I could to help them. And also I have this charity now on the channel where you can donate to the children in Gaza who are without food and shelter. So I'm all about that, giving to people who have less. People who are struggling, people who are going through hardship. And I do believe that that is my mission in life, to stand up for those minorities, to stand up for people who, I mean, I'm just going to tell her like it is. Most people in this world, they really don't care at all. They really don't. I mean, all you got to do, when you see a homeless person on the street, just stand by there for a certain amount of time. If you've got some spare time in your day, just stand around by there for 30 minutes, even 1 hour if you can. Watch how many people go past. Watch how many people just walk past. They don't even look at the homeless person. They don't even care. They don't even feel what that homeless person feels. This is the reality of the world. Statistics show only 1 to 2% of the world's population are empaths, which means people who have the ability to feel what we feel, people who have the ability to connect. That's how rare it is. Most people in this world do not have the ability to do that. And a lot of people, as I've experienced myself, they'll come into your life acting like they are empaths. The last few narcissists that I have dealt with, that's how they gained access to my life. By pretending to be empaths. They acted like they cared. They acted like they were going to help me. They never did. It was just lies and future faking. And the entire time I was just taking care of them. I gave them a home, I gave them money, I took them on trips around the world. I gave them everything they wanted. And yet they were never there for me. They were never there when I needed them. And even then, all I really needed for them was just to not screw things up and to give me space to be myself. And that's just how it is. I mean, talking about women, narcissistic women. I mean, of course, not all women are like that, but narcissistic women these days, they're not even going to give you space to be yourself. Because the reality is that they don't even want you to be you. They just want you to be a puppet on a string where they are able to control you. They don't even respect who you are as a person. And that's why I know narcissistic women, they're not built to survive in this world. Because even if they do get around a strong and powerful man who is able to become successful, all they're going to do is keep him down. Because that's the thing. If he manages to rise up, he's not going to want to be around them. So then they're going to die out. Or even if he does remain around them, he's not going to be able to sustain himself. So then they're both going to die. This is how we know. Narcissistic women, they're not built to survive in this world. They're not. And the same thing goes for narcissistic men. And that's why they have to leech off other people, whether it's other men or empathic women, whoever it may be. They're parasites, they're leeches. They're not even meant to be here. That's just how it is. And then people like us, empaths, chosen ones, in this world today, I mean, just look around and it's like, why are they so rare? And why do we never see empaths or chosen ones in positions of power and authority? Or where they're really successful? And it's because narcissistic people target them for their energy and resources and they leech off them. So we've pretty much got a bunch of people in this world, especially people in positions of power who aren't even meant to be there. They're not even meant to be alive. And then we look at the world and we wonder why it is the way it is today. Where so many people are struggling, they're suffering. They haven't got enough money to provide for themselves or for their families. They're not in adequate living conditions. They can't put food on their table. We wonder why the world is like this. When it's because people in positions of power are narcissistic. And they got there from leeching off empathic people. That's how they got to those positions. And then we wonder when we look around, it's like most people in this world aren't even built to survive. They're not even built to last. And yet we wonder why. And even I myself, from going through the smear campaigns, the gang stalking, I've had to struggle as well. Even though I'm not the kind of person to really talk about it in public. But of course, yeah, the past few years, they have been very difficult. I've traveled through different countries. I've had so many experiences, so many struggles, so many trials and tribulations. There's been many days where I had to go without food. And even living conditions, sometimes I had to stay in places with cockroaches. I had to go through all sorts of things. And of course, for someone like myself, who came from an affluent family early in my life, you know, that is quite a contrast. And I'm sure for anyone, especially those of you who are watching this, I know as empaths, you're hard-working people. You work hard to build the life that you want for yourself. So if anything ever happened to you and you went down, of course that would be a struggle for you as well. You wouldn't feel comfortable in that type of environment because you know that you've worked hard, you've strived, you've triumphed to become the person that you are today. It's not like everything was just handed to you on a plate, as it was for me early in my life. And I will admit that that did most definitely disable me in many ways. It made it difficult for me to socialize with other people. I was unable to relate. And I was just living in my comfort zone my entire life up until that point, where I lacked the skills, the proper abilities to be able to survive on my own. But luckily for me, it seems that somewhere inside of me, I already had that. And I guess it is because I'm an empath. As empaths, we are built to survive. Of course we would be, because it's necessary for the procreation of our species. What good is it if it's just a bunch of people who only care about themselves? Of course we would all die out very quickly. But when it's people who consider others and they take care of each other, a species like that is going to survive. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, there's 1 to 2% of the world's population are empaths. 98% or 99% are narcissistic. And yet there's 8 billion people on the earth. But that's the thing, because billions of us are in poverty and are starving. And 99% of the world's wealth is shared among 0.0001% of the world's population. So are we really doing well as a species? No, we're not. Only a very small percentage of the world are. And even then, it's only because they manipulate and exploit empathic people. They're not even meant to be in those positions of power. They cheated their way there. And this is why you need to be prepared. Because many of us, we look at ourselves and we're like, I'm empathic, I'm a loving, kind, caring, considerate person. I try to give the best of myself to people so that they can become the best versions of themselves. And you assume that everyone is like that. And by assuming that, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage to where you may be susceptible to manipulation and exploitation by just assuming that everyone is like you, when they're really not. A lot of people out there will betray you and think nothing of it. Yes, they will feel a lot of shame, and that will continue to build inside of them. But they will try and run from that shame by further abusing you or someone else. And at the same time, running from themselves. Because that's just what a lot of people in this world are like. A lot of people are like that. fact, a lot of people even support and glorify narcissistic people. They see narcissistic people who are going out there manipulating and exploiting other people, and they see nothing wrong with that. They enable it, and the reason why a lot of times is because they see themselves in that person. It's because they see themselves in them. And that's why they glorify it, because they're living vicariously through that person. And that's how you see so many celebrities, so many people in positions of power who are narcissistic. And you look at it like, why are all of these people supporting them? I mean, these narcissists, they don't even care about anyone but themselves. They don't have other people's best interests in mind. And they would take the opportunity to betray them if they ever needed to. So you may look at it and it's like, how are these people so blind? When it's just that they're glorifying them because they're living vicariously through them. They see themselves in those people. Well, as for us empaths, it disgusts us. It repels us away because we're not like that. And it just seems so dirty to us. These leeches, these parasites who have to feed on other people to survive. Clearly, they're not even meant to be here because they're not self-sustaining. They can't sustain themselves. If they could, then they would. And that's how it could be so dangerous for you when you get around them. Because if they can't sustain themselves, they're going to be leeching off you. They're going to be feeding from you. So after a certain amount of time, you're going to struggle to sustain yourself as well. And then you're going to go through a certain amount of time where you're struggling to maintain yourself and you haven't got the resources or the energy for where you're able to move forward. And they may play on that, they may make you doubt yourself, they may make you think that you're not good enough, when actually it's just because you've been around them. You got around them and then they brought you down. They left you unable to sustain yourself. So that's all that was. And yet this is kind of their mission on this earth. It may be subconsciously as well, but they have to get around people like us and drain us, make it so that we can't sustain ourselves, and then play on our self-worth to make us believe that we're not built to survive when it's actually the other way around. And of course it would be, it's common sense. We need to be empathic as a species for us all to survive and to procreate. If we're all narcissistic, that's not going to work. It's not going to work that way. And this is why how most people in the world are narcissistic these days. And it's like most people are struggling to survive. And yeah, I know you look on social media, you go on Instagram, looks like everyone's having a great time, everyone's doing well. But it's all fake. In actuality, they're just putting on these fake smiles, these fake laughs. They go to nice hotels just to take selfies. In real life, they are struggling. They're not doing well at all. And yet they come around you and they leech off you, and then they make you feel like you're not good enough. When that doesn't make any sense, because with narcissists, with narcissistic people, If they really believe that you're no good, you're garbage, you're useless, you're of no use, of no worth to them, they're not going to come around you. They're not going to come around you just to leech off you. I mean, just look at how narcissists treat the waiters in restaurants. Yeah, they will just say what's on their mind. They'll just say, yeah, you're nothing, you're useless, you're no good. And then they'll just leave. They're not going to get involved. They're not going to try and take anything from you because they don't need it. They don't want it. They want better than that. They know they deserve more. So they're not going to do that. But when narcissists do get around you and they do leech off you, then it's the opposite. Then it's because they see you as being greater than them, not being less. If they see you as being less, you're just going to get that attitude straight away. You're going to get that attitude. And they're going to tell you exactly what's on their mind. And they're not going to sugarcoat it because they do not care about their reputation, about what you think of them, because they don't need you. But when they come around you and they're manipulating you, they're deceiving you, they're lying, they're future faking, there's a reason for that. Because they're trying to get in with you. Because they see some potential benefits or conveniences from being involved with you. They see it as though you're greater than them. And that's why they're desiring to be a part of your life. Because they're looking at it like, oh yeah, I can level up from getting involved with this person, from being around them. And you will have seen that with the narcissist that you were dealing with as well. When they went around people who weren't any good in their minds, who weren't going to serve them, who weren't good enough, they would just criticize and talk down to them straight away. They would insult them. They just wouldn't care about how those people perceive them. Because they don't want them. They genuinely, and this isn't even the mask, this is a genuine belief deep down inside of their core that they believe that they are superior to those people. Because if they don't believe that they are superior, then they are going to go straight to the manipulation. Or if they don't believe that you're susceptible to the manipulation, then they're going to brainwash you. They're going to try some way to get in with you because they need something from you. They're not just going to go straight to insulting you and putting you down unless they genuinely believe that they are superior to you. But in all honesty, I will say, and I know they can be arrogant, they can be insulting, those overt type of narcissists. In some ways, I do respect of how they can just tell it like it is. At least they can be real, they can say what's on their mind, instead of leading people on and making people think that they've got a chance when they haven't. So I can respect that in some ways. And they can keep you out of trouble with those types of narcissists, at least. But with the ones that are more covert, they get around you and it's like they will manipulate you and act like they're there for you and they can help you and they're going to improve your life, when in actuality they can't do anything for you. It's not just because sometimes you think it's because they're narcissistic, like they're just selfish, but it's also because they can't. Narcissists are not built to survive like we are. They don't have that ambition, that drive. You know, like that get up and get it mentality. They're not just going to go and get it. They're not like that. They haven't got that ambition, that enthusiasm, where you're going to go out and make something happen no matter what. They just haven't got it. And that's the whole point. That's why they come around people like us, who are confident, who are enthusiastic, who are strong, who do have tons of energy, because then they're going to be able to leech off us. And I can guarantee if they had our qualities, if they had that enthusiasm, that drive, that ambition to succeed, if they had that, they wouldn't even need us. They wouldn't even come around us to begin with. I'm going back over here now because these people just came around to play music again. This is just how it is when you're targeted. The gang stalking, the smear campaigns, the delusions never end. They come around you just to distract you, to steal your energy. Because again, these people have no inner sense of value. They can't generate their own power or energy from within. They've got to get it from empaths. Because again, they're not built to survive. They're not even meant to be here. They don't have the qualities, the abilities to make it. Like I know myself, if I was born in the wild, I could quite easily make it on my own. And they're bringing the music over here again. It's very hard to get away from it. And you may notice in my other videos as well, when I'm in the hotel, then there's banging on the ceiling and the doors are slamming. So it's a constant 24 hours a day campaign. And why do they do these things? It's really, I mean, for those of you who are going through it, it's to create a false reality. The reality is they already know, subconsciously they understand that they're not built, they're not good enough to even survive. And they don't want you to show them up to make them feel bad about themselves, because at the core of us all, we need that. We need that belief, we need that awareness that we are in survival of the fittest. We are one of the few who are going to make it, who are going to survive, and for the procreation of our species. That's just how it is. But these types of people, narcissists, for them to survive, they have to get around someone like us and keep us down while they're leeching off us, making us believe that we're not good enough. So then we remain dependent on them, on their lies and future faking, while they're leeching off our qualities and abilities so that they can survive while keeping us down. And again, we look at the world and it's like, why is everyone like zombies? Why are they all so lazy and unmotivated? They can't even just get up and make something of their lives. Typically those who are the abusers, rather than we speak about the victims, because of course that's understandable. They've been kept down, they've been abused. If they weren't abused, then maybe they could. But speaking about those other people, a lot of people in this world are just lazy and motivated. They're not built like that to get up and do something and to make things happen. They haven't got that inner strength, that inner sense of value. A lot of people in this world, they're not built to survive like we are. And it's not always about who's the strongest physically and the most powerful, who's got to go out there and kill a lion. It's not always about that. As I said earlier, it's that empathy as well. Empathic people. Because let's say myself, as someone who I deem myself to be pretty alpha, I deem myself to be built to be a survivor, like the name, Narc Survivor. But let's say I go out there into the wild and a tiger attacks me and then I'm wounded. And maybe someone who's watching this isn't that physically strong. You don't have those type of abilities, but you've got that empathy, that compassion. So I get attacked by a tiger and I'm wounded. Despite how strong I may be, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your support. And without that, I'm going to die. So I'm going to need you to nurse me back to health. And then when you do that, because I'm empathic myself, I'm going to have that sense of loyalty and devotion to you, to where I'm then going to want to take care of you and keep you by my side. So it's not always about survival of the fittest, who's the strongest, who's the most wisest. It's not always about that. Even if you're not strong, even if you're not built to take down a lion or to just go at it on your own. It's not always about that. Just having that empathy. And this has been shown in research, in studies of prehistoric humans. It's been proven that they were very compassionate. Just having that compassion. If you have that empathy, that compassion, then they're going to take you under their wing. They're going to protect you. Because you are a very valuable person if you have that trait. It's essential for the survival of our species. But most people in this world today do not have that. If anything, many of them are sadistic. They'll take pleasure in your pain and seeing you down. They want to keep things down. They want to keep things negative, pessimistic, because they're not built to survive. They're not built to last like we are. And it's really sad, but this is really how it is. I would say that most of the people in this world are not built to last. And how you know is that if you saw someone in trouble, someone who needed help, you would be there for them. But could you count on them to be there for you? And what would happen? I mean, let's just say there weren't 8 billion people on this earth. We were in a small tribe. What would happen then? It would pose a risk to the procreation of our species. Anything that poses a risk to the procreation of our species, it's a threat. It's not a good thing. It's not beneficial for us as a species and for our evolution. We need people who are strong, wise, and compassionate. People who are going to go out and do what they need to do. They're going to do what needs to be done. Because at the core of it all, it should be hardwired into all of us who do possess those traits. But most people, they'll never understand that because they get involved in these groups. They're around other narcissistic people. Sometimes what you got to do to really get in touch with your inner nature and what really matters in life, you've got to take some time by yourself. You've got to go into monk mode. And honestly, when you do that, you look around at the world And you'll wonder, how is everything so crazy? How are people acting in that way? They're like the opposite of normal. They're doing things that they should never be doing. Things that are a serious threat to the evolution of our species. Because you've got to think, how is it going to how would it benefit the procreation of our species? And that's how you've always got to think, and that's how you'll recognize who is a healthy person and who is not. That's how you're going to know. Because when it comes down to it, that's all that we are underneath it all. At the core of our being. We are built to survive. Well, we should be, at least. But the type of person who's like just going at it on their own, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to survive at all costs, no matter what, and at the expense of everyone else. That type of person, in reality, back in the caveman days, that person wouldn't have survived anyway. Let's say they stole your resources. They thought they had to come up with you, and then they're running off somewhere else into the wild on their own. The whole point of why they had to do that is because they can't do it for themselves on their own. So then they go off on their own into the wild, and they wouldn't last for long. They wouldn't last long enough to procreate. Whereas us, the ones who create these resources and these opportunities for other people to exploit, we're the ones who are built to survive long enough to procreate. So you see how narcissism is not even meant to exist. It's not even meant to be here. And I have to drive home this mess for you, because I know a lot of you, you're empathic and you feel like you're alone. You feel like no one cares about you. And it's like you're the outsider. You're the one who doesn't fit into anything. When it's not you, it's just because most of the world is narcissistic. That's why. What you have is very rare. This empathy, this compassion. We need more of that in the world. And as I've said, what I'd really like to see is more empathy in relationships. And I believe that's a part of my purpose. I came down here to spread this message. More empaths need to be together. They need to get married, they need to procreate. And we need to bring more empaths into this world, because that's what's going to make this world better. As for those people who are narcissistic, it's very unlikely that we're ever going to make them more empathic. They're just always going to be that way. But over time, if we get together with other empaths, we procreate, see, they also get the modified cars as well to try and drown out the message. That's part of the gang stalking as well. But yeah, as I was saying, if more empaths get together so that we can procreate, that's the only way that we're going to bring more empaths into this world. And then by doing that, this world is going to be a lot better, because there's going to be more people who care about each other. Well, narcissists, they just care about themselves. They don't care about anyone else. They don't even care about their own people. Other narcissists, they don't even care about them. And you will see that even their enablers, their flying monkeys, who remain so loyal and devoted to them. No matter what, they're always there for them. What do they ever get out of it? I mean, if anything, you look at the empath, the scapegoat, who managed to leave that environment. They end up doing better than all of those enablers and flying monkeys. So you can see these narcissists don't even care about their own people. And all they're ever going to do when they get around an empath like you is break you down. Because it's just that constant reminder to them. It's like telling them that they're not built to survive, that they're not even meant to exist. I don't know, that sounds mean at first, but really think about that. I'm saying that people who don't care about anyone but themselves aren't meant to exist and aren't meant to survive. When you really think about it, it's true. If it wasn't true, we wouldn't have made it this far as a species. We would have died out a long time ago. And I've talked about this in past videos in detail, about how prehistoric humans, research has shown that they were very compassionate. And also there were a lot more empaths back in 1979, and that has dramatically decreased from then until today. Research has proven this. But now, as you can see, I've got pushed out of the space from all the noise and the distractions, so now I'm kind of in the sunlight and near the road with all the loud cars and bikes. This is just how it goes with the gang stalking. They maneuver themselves to position you how they like and what benefits them. These narcissists, they are parasites, they're leeches. They depend on people like us in order for them to survive. They cannot survive with people like us, without us. And that's why we're starting to see more narcissists who are becoming more desperate. And more collapsed narcissists as well, because it's very difficult for them to find sources of supply. It's very difficult for them to find people like us because only 1 to 2% of the world's population are empaths. So in many ways, they are shooting themselves in the foot. They're hanging themselves because it's very hard for them to find someone like us. If they're lucky, they might find one empath in their entire lives. But this cat here is resting in the heat. It's got a bit of shade here. Sleeping. But this is what we need more of in this world. More compassionate, considerate people. And people who spiritually awaken as well, because that's what helps a lot. When you spiritually awaken, you will begin to care more about the needs of other people and their emotions. When I had my spiritual awakening, I then became a vegan. I gave up alcohol. I started to care so much more about other people and animals. And that's how I've got so much motivation to share these messages on here, knowing that it's going to help you. But unfortunately for us, empaths and spiritually awakened people, we are very rare. And also, when you're trying to help people, that's when these narcissists will typically come around you, because then you're vulnerable. You're open for them to attack. So that's typically when they will come around you. And unfortunately, I had to learn this myself, where I had to be very careful in what I'm doing in public. But I'm giving people money and food and just trying to help everyone. Narcissists are attracted to that. That's what they're looking for. And that's how they're just so detrimental to our species. That they will, not only do they leech off us, but they actually want to destroy us as well. Because when they see you trying to help people, they will come after you and destroy you. They hate our empathy because it shines a light on them and how they're not even meant to exist. It brings up their shame and then they want to destroy us. But in all honesty, I haven't done too much research on that. So I will take the time to explore that in depth. But yeah, they do hate our empathy. Of course they would. It's about survival. Back in the days, in order for narcissists to survive, they had to hate empaths, discredit them and make it out like they're bad people, as though they're weak. Their love is a weakness. And that's why we can't survive or progress as a species. So that's their narrative. And that's part of how they made it this far. But sometimes, our empathy can be taken as a weakness and it can be exploited if it's given to the wrong people. If it's given to narcissists. So in that sense, they're right, but only when we give it to them. Give it to another empath and that's strength. Empathy is a strength. And of course, it takes strength to be empathic and compassionate because you're having to get something from within to provide that to someone. And when you're around these narcissists, all you're ever going to be doing 24 hours a day is you're just a constant provider. You've got to provide them with attention, admiration, validation, energy, resources, emotional support. You're a walking ATM. Just constant support you've got to provide to them because they're not self-sustaining. They can't make it on their own. But a lot of people these days, they don't even know this. They're not even aware of it. But I've studied many different religions, cultures, historical backgrounds, and I can see that yes, back then, centuries ago, thousands of years ago, it was all about having empathy and compassion for other people. And it was recognized that yes, this is how we survive. Not with narcissism. Narcissism is good for short-term survival strategies. But then it can end up being detrimental for the health of our species. So narcissism is not good. It's not healthy at all. Anything that harms another person is not going to be good. And anyone who desires to harm another person, they're damaged people. There's something wrong with them. They're not healthy. But yeah, I think that's it for this message today. I haven't really got too much energy in this one, to be honest. I haven't had a meal for 28 hours. And I haven't got any water as well. It's just really the result of the smear campaigns, the gang stalking. It does make just daily life very difficult. But I would really appreciate it if my work has been helpful to you and you would like to reciprocate something back to me and you want to donate, you could just go to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/narcsurvivor. And those of you, the empaths who care about my health, of course, as soon as I receive that, I will go and get myself something to eat. And then I can use it to motivate me to get back to work. Because right now things are difficult. I'm still waiting on money to come in. It's not that I don't have any money. It's just I have to keep it in other accounts that I can't access because I'm constantly having gang stalkers who are trying to get into my account. So I do still have some money. It's just because of that I have to transfer it. And then for me to transfer it, it can take 2 to 3 days and I never know when it's going to come in. And it's working days as well, so it can go the entire weekend as it did just now. So yeah, it gets difficult sometimes, and that's why these donations really help, because they go straight into my PayPal account, which gang stalkers can't access, and then I can send it directly, instantly to my bank account, which means that I can use it straight away. And that's why I really appreciate when people do donate to my PayPal, because then anything I need, I can get it straight away. But up until this point, I mean, I've really just kind of put my own health on the back burner. I've gone through a lot over the last 2-3 years, never really spoke about it, just pretended like everything's fine, because this channel is meant to be about you, not about things that are going wrong for me. But then I did kind of have this epiphany where it's like, what use am I to you if I don't take care of my own health? Of course, I've got to take care of myself first. And yeah, I mean, I guess I should expect some form of reciprocation, as I have been researching this disorder for 6 years, putting out these videos for 5.5 years, doing coaching sessions. And I expected very little in return. And I would say that for other people as well, when they're doing this work, they deserve everything they get back. They deserve the donations, they deserve the support, because they're helping so many people around the world. I mean, I do wonder sometimes, with 50 million views, how many people have I saved from toxic relationships? How many suicides have I prevented? I mean, who can even imagine? There must be so many. And of course, I'm going to continue doing that. Every time I get these emails and I hear from people of how their lives are better now, they're happier, it really just makes me happy as well to see that. So yeah, this is my mission, and I will continue to do this. And I appreciate all donations that I receive from you as well. But you can donate through my PayPal. It is paypal.me/narcsurvivor. But anyway, it is really hot out here. It's about 35 degrees Celsius. I'm going to go back inside the mall now. But there will be a video premiering soon in about 12 hours. So look out for that as well. So thank you all for your support. If you found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up button down below. Let me know your thoughts about this video in the comment section. Love to hear from you. I read your comments every day. hit subscribe and click all notifications so that you will be notified when I upload a new video. And if you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also you can follow me on Instagram. I'm uploading new pictures and videos every day to my stories on there. It's Narc Survivor YouTube and Instagram. Thank you all for joining me on another live video. I appreciate you all. And I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.